So welcome everyone to episode 3 of the Property Duo podcast and YouTube series. Today, what date is it today? It is the 16th of April. So I believe it's the third week of coronavirus lockdown. And we're talking about a few different topics. The first one is what has happened since we last did this episode. Has anything changed for us? And a really important one is how long do we think the recovery will take after lockdown, and what do we think that might consist of? So this is all predictions. This is not legal or financial advice. Please, we don't have public liability insurance, so don't say anything to us. We're going to talk about building a brand and putting yourself out there. And then we're also going to talk about things you can do during this time to use your time wisely. However, these are totally up to you. We're not like a Facebook meme that says, if you haven't left this without a side hustle, you're a waste man. No, we're just going to give some tips that we think you can do if you want. So, James, you always have some interesting story, or, you're in trouble or someone's in trouble in your world. So do you want to start us off? But do you want to maybe tell everyone about our biggest fan who recently discovered our podcast? Your mum.
Oh, yeah. yeah. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah. So, that's a hot topic for this week. So recently, my mum, she's 65, Asian woman. She recently discovered our podcast. So she discovers the Property Duo podcast. So she's gone and subscribed to it. And, my mum's one of those people that does not do technology, but we recently got her a phone, and she's been doing the whole WhatsApp stuff, trying to diagnose coronavirus like every other Asian mum is at the moment, with their remedies. But the interesting thing was she came onto the podcast and she goes, you know what? I'm really enjoying this podcast, because she's been pretty bored sitting at home. Normally she's out and about doing stuff. We can't get around to see her. So she's been keeping herself occupied with a podcast. So that was one of the most interesting things, and quite funny actually, because she started quoting bits from it to me. She's like, when did you do this? You never told me. Or when did you do this? And it's just kind of like, whoa, mum is really on this one. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if she starts leaving us a review or starts to comment soon. Or even more so, she might be brave enough to come onto one of these lives, which will just kill it completely. But yeah, our biggest fan, my mum, has joined, and she is subscribed to our podcast, and she's listening regularly. So big up, mum.
Big up, auntie. So what's new in your life since last Thursday?
I think the biggest thing so far is that message that I sent you last night, where about FHL. So people that don't know, Foundation Home Loans, Tej had a remortgage go through with them last week, and he posted something about them asking him to sign a disclaimer about mortgage holidays right at the last moment. And you said it was pretty badly written, like someone's quickly just typed it.
I'll show it on screen while you're talking.
Yeah, so he said it was a quite bad declaration, just asking him if he's been requested any kind of, wow, yeah.
Carry on talking, I'll just leave it here.
Yeah, so similar kind of thing happened to me. So my broker messages me last night about 6 o'clock in the evening and says, James, look, I've just received this email from FHL saying that you requested a mortgage holiday, and due to you requesting a mortgage holiday, they are now going to drop your remortgage and they're not going to let it go through. And I'm thinking to myself, no, this is just nonsense. My broker said to me, he goes, there's some interim staff that they've hired who's working on this case. He's never spoken to him before. The top dog seems to have disappeared, so he's not really answering. But the thing was, did we ask for a mortgage holiday? No, we didn't. Not from this particular lender. So we called them at the government's advice when things went on lockdown. They said, look, you know what? Speak to your lenders, find out what's going on. So the first week, everyone's panicking a little bit, thinking, am I going to get my rent paid? How are things going to go for me? Like you would. So I put a phone call into FHL and just asked them and said, listen, what is the procedure on mortgage holidays, and what are you guys doing in terms of helping your clients if we don't receive rent? Their response to me was, James, you are waiting in a massive queue. We're looking at about 72 hours for somebody to call you back, and someone will call you back, a business development manager, and just keep you up to date to let you know what's going on. Now, this was almost a month ago. I haven't had this phone call come through to me. We haven't requested any kind of mortgage holiday. We just wanted to inquire about the mortgage holiday. So to my shock, when I get this message last night, I'm thinking, oh shit, am I going to put my foot in it by just asking? And I thought, hold on a second, I haven't actually signed anything. So how the hell can you just say to me that I've asked, I'm taking a mortgage holiday? And off the back of that, they actually took the payment for March and they've taken a payment for April. So I don't understand how they can say I'm on a mortgage holiday. So, obviously I think most people would panic if you receive that. And I panicked for a few moments and I thought, oh man, I'm not going to get my funds come through. I'm not going to be able to eat. I'm going to starve, all that kind of nonsense. Things are going to go from bad to worse. And no, not really, but still. So I thought, how do I overcome this? And then I thought to myself, you know what? The first thing is, a day after I called them, I got an email from my tenant saying to me, look, James, we just wanted to let you know that both me and my partner, we work in the legal sector, we don't see any problem with you getting your rent payments because we've got solid jobs. We're part of an international firm. So we're just a polite email just to say to you and put your mind at ease that you'll have no problems getting rent from us. So I thought, okay, that's a nice bit of evidence. That came in the day after I put a call into FHL. So I thought I'm using that as a bit of evidence there. And then secondly, a screenshot of the bank statement just showing where the payments have continued to go out to the lender, even after I've so-called asked for a holiday. And then the third thing was, I've already got a couple of mortgages with them. And the third thing was actually getting a bank statement showing ample funds in the statement. And I said to them, look, we could cover both of these mortgages for the next 10 years if Corona went on for that long. So there's no issue there with the funds. Our issue was, because we were due to complete on we were going to exchange on a big project, which would have tied up all our funds. But luckily that fell through, which means now we've got a load of funds to cover both mortgages. So I thought, I've got to try and reinforce my case here because it's going to, like you said, Tej, there's some waste man sitting there at the other end of a computer typing this up and saying, hey, James, you ain't getting your money, boy, because you phoned us. That's like, what? How are you going to say that? I didn't even speak to someone. It was a message, we will call you back. And besides, at the bottom of the email to him, I said, I'm really, really disappointed in you. You said to me that your callback time was 72 hours. It's now been 4 weeks. I still haven't received a call from you. So I'd officially like to complain about that. So, so that's been my development for the week, whereas everything was running so smoothly. And then suddenly I'm now in this position where I might not get my remortgage come through. And because it's a HMO hybrid product, I don't know if anybody's familiar with these brand new HMO hybrid products that they've got. The flipping valuation fee on this thing was about 800 quid. And when you're quite used to having a free val or, a valuation that's next to nothing, when you've paid out so much money and, the value that came along was he was quite a bit of a waste man himself. He was kind of really nitpicking at little things, devalued the property and all sorts. So I'm thinking, I don't really want this to fall through right at the, last hurdle where everything is ready to go. The solicitors are ready. Everyone's ready. And you've got this spotty little 20-year-old sitting there. No offense to your 20-year-olds out there, by the way. But you got this spotty little 20-year-old. I'm looking at Ruby because she's the youngest, isn't she?
What did you just say?
She has good skin though. I have to give her that. I have to big up.
Big up.
So this spotty little 20-year-old probably writing this message saying, you know what, James, you are not getting your money. And I'm thinking, no, I'm not having this. I'm not having this at all. So we are now trying to just overcome that hurdle and kind of get through that little last bit so we can get the money out.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So that's kind of been the major one for me this week, where everything was running so smoothly. We had the solicitor who came and done the individual legal advice with his bin stick through the window and complied to the 2-meter social distancing. And now it could all go to shit. My broker's hopeful that it won't, because he's ready to just really beat up FHL, because he's thinking to himself, you know what? Nah, this ain't on, because this case was well and truly in process before Corona came along.
And you didn't get the same letter I did, right? You never received that.
No, I haven't had that declaration letter, but I'm quite confident that will come just as the funds are about to be released, and they'll make you sign that.
Potentially. So I got mine the day before the certificate on title was sent to them. So I meant to get the funds tomorrow, let's see. And I got it like a day before. So there wasn't a specific time. So I find it weird, given how, like, mine was in the exact same stage as yours. when I received it by email, and they didn't want a hard copy either. They just wanted a scan or whatever. So I find it strange. I think, you know what, on the best case, it's basically some idiot doing poor admin and them just shitting themselves because they're not bank funded, they're not high street banks. So I think for me, like, the biggest lesson here is fuck the government, fuck all of them, because at the end of the day, yeah, no one expected me to get so ragged, didn't they? But because they can tell you, here, take these payment holidays, you know, we're here to support landlords. No, you're not. Because if you were, then you would stop things like this happening. And look, I get why lenders want you to sign it. Like, would you lend your money to someone who can't keep up payments? It swings and roundabouts. If they've already got a tenant, maybe, but then so like, I get their approach. Like, I totally get why they would not lend. I wouldn't. If you said, hey, Joe, I'm stop paying you interest for the next few months, and you're like, oh, but could I have 20 grand more? I'd say definitely not. Anyone would, right? So I think they're doing the right thing for their own interests. And that's the key thing, for their own interest, because no one gives a shit about you, really, right? Like, apart from us. So I think they're doing the right thing as a business. But what's important is, like, in your case, it's stupid because it's an admin error. In my case, I got the letter, but I think they should be warning people, you know, like, they should, when you're taking out a mortgage holiday, you know, because when I posted this letter on Facebook, I think it was the first people had officially seen of this, because loads of people shared it and were like, we've been telling you about this. So I think it's one of these things where lenders should say this beforehand, because yes, your credit might have a U on it, or like an unclassified or whatever. And that's great. But if you can't get every mortgage that you need now or in a few months because they're going to judge you, which I said last episode before that, don't take a mortgage holiday unless you absolutely need it. I think that's like the general advice. But if people aren't paying rent, like, to be honest with you, if people weren't paying me rent, would I take a mortgage holiday? Probably not, because of fucking bullshit like this. And that sounds terrible, right? And I'm not advising people to do that. I'm saying I have enough cash there to take that hit, not like happily, but I would rather take that than have the old judgment that comes and that causes issues, right? So yeah, I think it's shitty of them. But the lesson which you and me both discussed yesterday was, you know, time to diversify. I've only got a few mortgages because a lot of them are now jumping onto mortgages, but to go to like high street banks or companies or lenders that are backed by high street banks, because yes, they can still do the same thing and they will, but they've got a bit more about them, you know. Foundation's the little kind of, you know, I don't know, Foundation to the kid at PE who forgot his PE kit and he has to wear like shorts and vests, basically. I don't know. Like,
well, like you.
I don't fit in a vest, string vest. No, so I think like you have to, as cheap as Foundation are and as low, you know, I love them for many reasons. They're great, and you both use them for a reason. I am gonna take a higher percentage hit per month, you know, just to go with a lender who I know when the next pandemic comes around, because it will, whenever it is, I'm ready, right? And I'm prepared. So yeah, I think it's a bit, yeah, it's not very nice of Foundation. My updates.
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned that, Tej, because the broker said the same thing yesterday. He goes, look, James, I really want to move you away from these kind of investor-backed banks onto proper high street lenders, because you're now at a place where you should be. He goes, I want you protected. I want you with a solid bank who's going to be around. And when shit like this happens, it's not a major deal and it's not going to really affect you. But like you say, you know, they're trying to pretend they're there to help you. But if you've got a remortgage going through with them, they're just marking your card. I remember a few years ago, I used to say to people, I knew a lot of people that took the piss with the PPA claims, you know, when you had all the claims going on for credit cards, insurances and all that. I said to these guys, I said, listen, somewhere along the line, this bank is going to start marking your card, because they ain't just going to give you shitloads of money and just say, hey, don't worry, take that money. You can have a claim on us and you can carry on having a credit card with us, a loan with us. I said, no, sirree, they've marked your card somewhere along the line. So just be very, very careful of that.
Definitely.
What I found really odd was, Ted, my broker, being a broker, he's taken on mortgage holiday in all his products. You know, even though he doesn't need it, he was saying to me, yep, I've got one with Coventry, I've got one with BM, I've got one with this. And I thought, why are you doing that for? He goes, Just want to conserve my cash flow for a few months. I'm thinking, okay.
I mean, look, if you're not planning on remortgaging and you have a big existing portfolio that you stop building, don't know if he has, then I'd probably do the same thing, because I'm like, look, I'm settled, I'm good, I don't need more shit from you banks, so I'll just take the holidays and get cash. Like, absolutely, like it's 100% what I would do if I was in that position, though. Right, what else? Updates. So from my end, I have completed on one auction purchase, which was, I think, Monday, I don't know, Thursday, maybe Monday. I can't remember. It was a little bit delayed. Anyways, one guy has been in and he spent 2 days there and he's stripped the whole fucking house and he's blue gritted the walls ready for plaster in 2 days. I was like, what are you feeding these guys? Like, done. And rewires happening Thursday. Today's happening now. So things are kind of progressing, but obviously we can't get certain bits. I'm still trying to get roof slates for a roof that we're doing, which we can't get at the moment. So on my end, refurbs are kind of progressing. Everything's a bit slow. I've actually got one deal, which you got the money for to fund, which the seller solicitors now said, oh yeah, the seller hasn't signed the transfer. We gave it to them on the 31st of March. I was like,
wow.
Okay, I mean, I'm happy to take a delay on the purchase. It doesn't bother me, like, whatever, like, it's same difference.
Can you turn around and fine them for taking the piss now and taking the time?
Ooh, why didn't I think of that straight away?
Yeah, because you're now, you should say it's negatively impacted me. I've got a little bit stressed sitting here in my underpants. I'm really worried. I'm gonna have to charge you. That's it.
You know what? I'm gonna ask
compensation.
Yeah. The thing is, as much as I'd love to do that, I have a good relationship with the auction house, so I don't want any things like that. And also, I'm trying to buy the freehold at the same time, and the freeholder is just taking a little bit longer. So I'm kind of like thankful for the thing. But I've never had on an auction purchase the seller not be ready. Normally they're ready from day one, everything's signed. So I don't know, it's a bit strange. Like, and the vendor's really nice. Like, I've spoken to him directly. So it's a bit weird that my solicitors were like, 𝘇cije. I was like, well, whatever. Like, let's just. I'm not in a rush, like this refurb needs materials quite heavily, so whatever, really. And I'll I'm not waiting 6 months to refinance it. Well, I might have to, but so yeah, nothing really major to update from my end. I think I've got
one more update for you,
please.
So the rogue agency that's got my HMO, the ones that pretty much told me to F off and you can do whatever you like. So I've had a bit of development there, not with getting any rent or getting my house back, but I had some development with the council guy who deals with the HMO license. So do you remember when I told you Redbridge Borough has a massive backlog of licenses? Mm-hmm. Now, that wasn't entirely true. So what's happened is these agents have, every single time there's been a meeting to come around and assess the house for a HMO license, they've just kind of cancelled the meeting or disappeared or not showed up. So they've really been delaying it. So I was speaking to the guy at the council yesterday via email, really nice guy, got on really well. And I asked him, I thought, okay, let me see if I can switch this up a little bit and switch it back on the agents. I said to the guy, I said, listen, I know the license is in their name. Can you do me a favor and can you switch the license to my name? And he's like, yeah, sure, no worries. I'll switch that to your name. And I said, are you happy to grant the license to me as well, based on photographic evidence to show you that there's a fire alarm system there, fire doors, the kitchen, the sizes and the spaces, architect's plans? He said, absolutely, I'm happy to do that. He goes, the council have advised him that he needs to get all his cases sorted, all his open cases sorted, because they're moving him out of that department because they don't deem it to be important to issue HMO licenses at the moment. So I thought, okay, now's my chance to get back at these agents. They've paid for the license. So I thought, thank you very much. I'll have that money and the license will now be in my name, which means when we do go through and take you to court, or when we are doing an eviction on you, there's another bit of evidence there to say that, look, you guys don't actually have a HMO and you've been trading that house as a HMO for X amount of times. So I'm trying to just reinforce my case and strengthen my case against them. Because when they told me to F off, I was just like, oh man, what do I do? Do I go to the house? Do I start knocking on their door? Do I go crazy? Well, you know what? Take a deep breath, James. This old meditation malarkey's been helping you. Remain calm. So I remained calm and I thought, I'm going to get you back. in the same way that you guys got me. So that was a nice little bit of development, that the HMO license is being switched up into my name. And then when I am ready and I get the property back, it'll be all plain sailing that I can get it renovated and get it let. And he was a really, really nice guy. He's actually renovating his own house. So we are just giving him a bit of advice, talking. So he was, nice bit of development there.
Nice, good, man. I'm glad. Hopefully it will pay dividends in the long run with these bastards. So on to our first topic. What do we want to do? Should we talk about the recovery post-lockdown first?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So obviously we're in lockdown at the moment. If no one's aware, we are. I guess firstly, we don't know how long it's been extended for. I believe they're talking about it today. I'm not sure. I don't know. But let's say it's extended probably until May. So that's about a month-ish or 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks at the minimum. Once we come out of lockdown, I mean, I think firstly, the longer the lockdown lasts, the bigger the impact will be on the economy. That's obvious. But James, my question for you is, I don't know if you heard the news recently, but there was the OBR, I don't know what that stands for, some British thing, government said there could be a 30% drop in the economy. I think it was it GDP? I'm not sure, but in the economy, they said, after this lockdown. Now, 30% is huge. I think after 2008, it was like 4%. I think the last time it was 30% was the 17th century. So, like, it's basically never happened. Like, do you think that it could be that dramatic if we come out of lockdown in a few weeks? And then, because you've kind of lived through a recession with more cognition than me, because I was a kid then. You obviously 40, I think, in the recession. So, you know, how
you're terrible, man. You're terrible.
What are your thoughts on everything I just said?
You're proper ageist, aren't you? Taking a mic.
You have wisdom. That's why we're doing this. You have wisdom.
Do you know what? I have stopped listening to the news, because every time I hear the damn news, all I hear is this is going to happen. The world's ending. Another 700 people have died. You know, all these businesses are going to go under. Another clothing brand's gone under. So I've decided I ain't listening to the news no more, because all I'm hearing is negative shit coming in. So I'll stop listening to it. The next thing I've done is I thought, you know what? When I do need to hear what the highlights are, I'm just going to every evening just put it on for a couple of minutes just to see what's going on. But I think there's a lot of scaremongering going on. Yeah, I think a lot of people are shitting themselves. Mm-hmm. I personally feel that this whole lockdown, I don't think we're going to be out of our houses till about June. I feel personally.
Lord. Okay.
Yeah. I was thinking when this first started, I thought, you know what, this is just a little 4-week holiday. We'll be back before we know it. It's going to be nice. We'll be refreshed. But as time goes on, I'm starting to think, no, this is going to go on a little bit longer, and it's a little bit more serious than people are making out to be. You know, I was there thinking, nah, this is all a little bit of a story. Someone's made this virus up like everybody else does. Some bollocks. But listen, off the back of that, I told you, didn't I, the other day when my friend rang me and he said his dad died from it. And you know, when you know someone firsthand and you're thinking, no, this shit's real. And then my wife was telling me that a family she knows, where she used to live in West, the whole family's got it, and one of the daughters was on a ventilator. She recovered from that, but they're on lockdown in their house, and this is someone she grew up with, went to school with. So I'm thinking maybe this shit is a little bit more serious than people are making it out to be. And to be honest with you, other than going out for a run in the morning, I ain't going nowhere, mate. I'm getting some food that, and I'm not risking my kids going out either, because I think to myself, you know what, I couldn't live with myself if one of them contracted something and being on their own in the hospital and all that nonsense. I'd rather than just be in the house playing, you know, shitloads of Xbox or whatever they're doing, gaming. Carry on. Enjoy this time, because you ain't never getting it again, but you ain't going out if it's risky. In terms of your question, do I think it's going to be that bad? I don't think it's going to be that bad. No. I think there's a lot of scaremongering going on. Like I said, people are really starting to get scared. And I think it's down to each and every one of us how much of this negativity you're going to consume, you know. It's what you're going to tell your mind and what you're going to believe in it at the end of the day. So I would say take it with a pinch of salt. Yes, maybe hold back on things you were doing. Maybe regroup, maybe rethink. Maybe do all those tasks that you haven't done. You know, like I'm sure people's accounts are due at the moment. That's a task you could do. We always leave that to the end minute. Do all that boring shit that needs to be done. But don't take your eye off the ball. If your strategy is sourcing deals, carry on sourcing, carry on looking at the market. If you're buying, if you're flipping, carry on looking. But don't let what the government's telling you shit you up, because 9 times out of 10, they're lying to us anyway.
Yeah, 100. I'd say 10 times out of 10 they're lying to them, ourselves and themselves. I think like I totally agree with the news. I think I keep an eye on the economical news because I've got not much else to do, to be frank. But like I think there's definitely going to be a dip or a kind of drop in. Of course, there has to be an economic output in the economy in general, in how people are behaving and how people's like going out habits. Are restaurants going to be the same for the next few months? Are people going to want to sit? There's lots of like human factors which will affect the economy, and therefore, if they affect the economy and they're human, they affect us, and we affect it. It's one big circle. So, I think there will be, like, when it comes to property, which is the most important thing for this chat, I actually just have no clue if prices are going to go down because the economic activity is going down, or they're going to go up because everyone's been locked at home. And so I honestly have no idea what's happening, but I am, like you said, I'm still looking at deals. I'm still analyzing, but I think for me, some of the biggest changes are I had a deal brought to me that I didn't take. And mainly because the end comparables were not easy, but I know the area. So if we were out of coronavirus, 90% chance I'll be buying that deal right now. But because the end values weren't as what I wanted, and because of Corona, and because of if I took a 10% on my conservative already dropped end value, it's fucked. So I was just like, actually, this is not good enough for it to make sense. Whereas the house that you got funding for me, I'm buying it for 28 grand plus the freehold. I'm buying it incredibly BMV. That's the kind of thing where I can, I wouldn't pull out. No way, I wouldn't pull out full stop. But that's the kind of thing I could. So I think like I'm looking at deals, but am I going to go ahead with them? I don't know. It's very difficult to get investor finance right now because people are shitting themselves, and it's difficult to get bridging because, well, they're basically closed. Some are open, but you're looking at, I don't know, 15 to 30% sometimes on the money to them, plus fees, plus blah, ridiculous, which is fine. If you need to buy, you need to buy. I think one of the biggest things I'm doing, which for me is huge, is I'm not giving any pre-auction offers. I'm waiting, and I'm going to maybe get some post-auction offers in a few weeks, which for me is very difficult to sit on my hands because I'm like, I want to submit, but I'm not, because it's just too uncertain at the moment. And luckily the auction's in 3 weeks, and I know that there's going to be some unsold lots, and we can see what happens. I think what a lot of people message me on Instagram, probably the same for you, is that should I buy property now? So what's your answer to that? I know there's no straightforward answer, but what would you say when someone asks us that?
You know what? Would I carry on buying right now? Yes, I will. I'm going to carry on buying. If the right deal comes along, I will still buy it. If the numbers stack, yes, I'm still going to buy it. I feel, like you say, there might be a slight dip. There might be a slight bit of an issue with getting rooms rented once we're out of all of this. But I think gradually it's gonna get back to normal. But if you're new to this game, maybe you might want to hold off. Maybe if you haven't been through a recession before where you've seen things dip, or you haven't actually been through the process of buying a house or buying your first investment property, maybe you might just want to hold back a little bit and sit back. Because let's face it, it's not going to get, if you've seen a house today for £100,000, it's not going to get any more expensive tomorrow, is it? If anything, it's going to get possibly a little bit cheaper if the market takes a dip. But if you're a seasoned investor and you've been investing for a while and you know your model, you know your strategy, I think the people on this chat that do that, they're going to carry on going. I mean, if it's the first time you're going into a strategy, my advice maybe would be take a step back and just consume what's going on. I think you're quite lucky to go through a recession in the sense that you can see when shit hits the fan. You could flip this on a positive note that it's probably quite a nice thing to go through. So, well, not a nice thing to be locked up in your house, but a nice thing to go through financially and see what's happening to the market so you can assess it if you ever go through this again. I mean, I remember in 2008, we didn't really, the area that we live in and the area that we invested in, we didn't really see much of a change. You know, if anything, probate, we were getting deals on probate properties. And I always find with probates, it's always some cousin or brother or kid trying to sell the property, and all they want is the money. They've got the wrong financial education. They just think, I can get 300 grand out of my aunt's house. I'm going to buy a Lambo. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be sorted. And before you know it, they've pissed the money up the wall, and, you know, they're no better off. So my advice, if you're a seasoned investor, like a few of us, if you've got a good strategy, carry on going. Why wouldn't you? Why would you stop? You know,
Yeah.
If you're new, maybe take a step back and consume all this and just ride the recession and see what happens. And off the back of that, make sure you're getting your news from good sources. You don't want pub talk. You know what I mean? You don't want Dave down the pub told me I could do this, or Dave down the pub said that every house in that street is going to be free, or Dave in the pub said that, mortgages, they're going to drop the loan to value to like 30% and all this nonsense. Work out where you're getting your source of information for. You don't want pub talk. I call it pub talk. It's just shit. You want to be getting your information from the right sources, and get it from good sources. Don't not from your mate, not from your uncle. Being an Indian man, you've always got that uncle who's never bought a property, who's never done shit all, but he's there to say to you, "Oh, son, I tell you, this is a good deal." And you're thinking, hold on. How do you know it's a good deal? You've never bought nothing. You've not even bought yourself a new car. Don't be giving me education on buying properties. So just make sure your source of information, is good.
100%. There's always, I can't wait to be that uncle, but at least I'll have a bit of experience behind me in it that I can talk about it. But yeah, Dave down the pub, he's a prick, mate. Don't listen to him. He's good for a laugh, but he's not good for knowledge. I think, you know what, it's interesting because you are more experienced than me. You've been buying property for how many years now?
I've been full-time in property for a couple of years, but I've been buying property for probably coming up. I bought my first property when I was 23.
So 17 years ago.
And I'm 38 now.
38. So about 15 years in property. So I think you and me have similar views, but I think you have the benefit of kind of living through a recession, living through different periods of an economy, whereas I have a year of doing this. So for me, because the buy, refurbish, refinance, which I know you do and many people in here do as well, it's so predicated on the end value being, within a tolerable limit of what we predict it or have researched it to be. So for me, a 10% drop is not going to affect my current properties, is as long shall continue. But a 10% drop will affect my ability to leave less money in. So for me, because that is such a vital part of my strategy and my business and paying investors back, I am taking a back seat now and watching, and I'm still, I'm holding myself back, but I'm watching and watching. And look, if the right deal comes up, like, I mean, stupidly cheap, that the end value doesn't, it won't be affected too much, then it's fine. However, I am taking more of a backseat. I'm not new necessarily. I'm newer than a lot of people for sure, but I'm taking a backseat because I need my end values to be spot on. So I'm waiting for, like I think I said last time, let other people, as soon as valuations open up, am I going to say, let's do a remortgage, Shaz, who's now joined us? Big up, Shaz. I'm not. I'm going to say, let everyone go ahead. Let me see what everyone does. # guinea pigs. Let me see what the sentiment is. Let me see what the gossip is. And then I'll say, am I going to do a revaluation? So I think also, right, and this is something that I think a lot of people can relate to, especially if you've been doing it for like even just a few months. Once you have a good deal flow and a good deal pipeline, you're kind of confident that it shall continue. So for example, I know, even if I didn't buy during this period, when I come out of it, if I message the right people, if I speak to the right agents, and my deal flow will continue. Yes, I want to keep buying from certain sources because it's good for the relationship, but this is so uncertain that I think people aren't necessarily judging, agents and blah, blah, are not judging for you not buying stuff. So I think it's quite a nice respite period, like just a freeze on your reputation with these people, because there's pressure, right? From builders to keep giving them work, from agents to keep buying, from blah, blah, blah. So for me, I'm kind of like just comfortable with the deal flow enough that I'm like, let me just hold back a bit and not do it. I think for people who are like, say someone's buying their first house, like first investment, would I personally say you should invest now? If you've got a cracking deal that's really good, and because of Corona, maybe the vendor's taking less, then yeah, potentially, but it really depends on the deal. So my answer is a bit fluffy because it depends on the deal. But generally, my advice is to be very cautious depending on your end exit. Because if it's for selling, you've got to think, right, when a value is coming back out for the first time buyers and for the mortgage lenders, is everyone just going to batter you on price because of Corona, just like we try to as well? What's actually going to happen? So just make sure your exits are solid. Like any time, any good broker, anyone will tell you your exits have to be right. So for me, it's a mixed bag. It depends on the deal. If you've got a deal you want us to look at live, just chuck it in the chat box. Make sure you put every detail in and we'll try and do it live. That could be another podcast, a deal analysis podcast. We should do that. But we have to charge. I think we should start at 20 grand and then we bring it down to 15, then 10, then 97 quid. Just a small discount. Yeah. What do you reckon?
I'll do it for a pack of Haribos.
Oh,
deal.
Fine. Fucking hell, you just undercut me, you bastard. I was trying to get 97 quid out of everyone. Right. So the next topic.
Sorry, Tej, before you go on that note of beating people up on prices. So I sent you that picture of that house because obviously at the moment, one of the things I said was, as soon as we're out of this Corona nonsense, the first thing I'm doing is I'm buying myself a house because I've been constantly pumping the money back into deals and I haven't bought myself a house. I know some gurus will tell you, no, you want to rent the house you live in because that's the wrong move to do if you're buying it. But some of the stuff that I sent you the other day, I sent you a picture of a lovely house. We looked at it last year and it was way over £1 million. We looked at stuff that was 1.1, 1.2. We're now seeing that stuff down to £800,000. And you're thinking to yourself, damn, some of these properties have been on the market for a year anyway, and they're already dropping their pants by a couple of £100,000. And you're thinking, what kind of deal am I going to get when we do come out of this and we can actually go and view stuff? Is this going to be the time for me to buy that nice house that I've always wanted to buy and get it at the right money? So yeah, I think put the investment aside for your own personal home. I think now for us as a family looking for our ideal family home, it's going to be a great time for us to find that property with every single thing that we want in it.
I think like something just interesting you reminded me on that is that on Twitter, I check out Twitter once a day because it's like people are brutal on the internet. It's hilarious the way they tear into politics. Like it's just hilarious if you don't take it seriously. If you're into politics, you're going to get into fights. But anyways, I have seen a lot, and I think it's been trending, a lot of people wanting, basically, I'm going to be really rude here as if I'm not normally, like a lot of dumb millennials wishing for a housing market crash so they can afford their first house because they live paycheck to paycheck, and instead of saving money, they go out all the time and spend money on Ubers and they blame the government for their own stupidity. Anyways, they have been saying, oh, I want a housing market crash, then I can get my first house and, blah, 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 and it's
Guilty.
a bit... Oh, Ruby, kick her out of the chat.
But I'm not like them millennials. I'm a different kind of millennial. So
what, is this the Ruby show or what? Can you mute yourself?
Sorry, bye-bye.
I'm joking, love. So I think it's a bit stupid because they're not thinking about the current homeowners whose LTV is going to drop. They're not thinking about all the repossessions that are going to happen. They're not thinking about the current, they're not thinking about anyone but themselves. And a housing market crash isn't necessarily going to help them because it doesn't mean that lending is going to be available. So I think there's a lot of like, I don't know, cultural stuff going around of like, oh yeah, housing market crash, that'd be great for us. But actually, it really would not be good for us. And that's another thing that I think you kind of just be aware of, right? Like people are, wishing for the wrong things. And we as investors should know better that that's not what we want. What we want is to be able to help vendors out with their situation should they get into them, but not to wish for them to be in that situation, because your own parents, your own family, you could be in that situation if that happens, right? So it's something to be wary of. Mm-hmm. So the next topic is, are we comfortable? Has anyone got any questions on I don't know, the economy or Corona or buying houses before we switch on, jump on to the next topic? Because you can cut this little bit awkward pause, can't you, James?
Yeah.
So we'll just wait a second if anyone has any questions. If they don't, we will jog on like you jog 11K every morning. Mad, mate, mad.
Not every morning, every other morning. My old legs can't take it anymore.
How many miles is that? Like 8 miles? Is it 8 miles?
Yeah, something like that.
That's a lot. That is like 8 miles. That's like going to Slough from here. That's mad.
Listen, it's so good when you've got an hour-long podcast because it makes it so nice.
I can't. I don't know. I just don't like running, to be honest. Like my knees, just they can't handle it.
Listen,
very much.
when you get married, you're gonna be running for the rest of your life, brother. Cha-ching.
I'll let her know you said that. She'll send some virtual slaps for you. So let's move on then. No one's got any questions. Right. So the next topic, I think. Oh no, hold on. There was like a semi. Was it okay? So then let's go on to how to use this time wisely, right? Before we start this, I just want to disclaim again, please. There's no pressure. There's no you should be doing this. This is just like things we're doing and things that we could be doing. And to be honest, I'm looking for inspiration because right now I'm hella bored. I've done everything. I've edited every single freaking video I can find. I'm rinsed, and I've done my accounts. I've done everything. So I'm kind of Aaron. Listen? I'm not editing anyone's videos. They take so long, especially the ones you do. Look at all these people like acting like they make videos. What's it, Sandy? Think you make videos? What? Listen, people in this chat getting brave. You know, if you make videos, then I'll happily review them for you. 𝘵 saying Bollywood movies. To watch Bollywood movies, I know they take up 5 hours of my life, but it's the same story, innit? Girl loves guy. Guy is obstructed by his own ego, and then he gets on a motorbike, tells her he loves her, but then the dad doesn't approve. Sounds like every Bollywood film, innit? At the end there, man, I'm not watching any Bollywood films. I tried to find 300, the Spartan film, but nowhere has it for free, and I'm not paying £3.49 for it. So if anyone can send me the link to watch 300, oh yes, Aaron, thank you. So anyways, moving on. Look at this in the chat. I love this. I'm going to watch 300 today. So James, what can we do in this time to use this time wisely? Hit me.
I think, like you said, Tej, there's really no wrong or right answer. But one thing I would say is you don't want to waste this time because this time ain't coming back again. Not anytime soon. When did you know the last time where you had nearly 1 month off your work and you were at home? You can sleep when you want. You can get up when you want. You can structure your day how you want. You can pretty much do what you want other than go outside, which is a major thing, I know, but you still got that 1 hour that they allow you to get out and do your exercise or get some fresh air or get some food. I think you need to balance the time out as well. For me, I would say it's been the most productive time. You know, it's been really, really productive because straight away, one thing we had to do was get a time plan in place because we've got kids. My wife needs time to work as well, so we've got set hours where we can work. So it's been real quality, productive time. But there are times when you're quite easily distracted. You know, you can get in a conversation on Instagram, and before you know it, you know, you're an hour in and you're just discussing something, and you think, no, man, I don't want to be doing this. But yeah, I've used the time to get a load of videos out, get a load of content out. You know, stuff like this show, people won't believe it, but it does take a while for us to chop everything up, produce smaller videos, get the audio extracted. So it's stuff that I just wouldn't have time to do during my normal working day. The other thing I've done is I've done a reassessment of all the tasks that I do, you know, every single task that I do. And I've actually written them down in an Excel chart and worked out which one of these tasks can I send off to a virtual assistant and which one do I actually need to be doing myself. So that was quite a good thing. Now I've realized after doing that, about 60% of what I do, I could just send to a virtual assistant. So I've taken this time to book a meeting with, who is it? The Freak Geeks or something?
Yeah, she's on my podcast. I forgot. Yes.
Yeah, Imogen. That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I've booked an appointment with her. I thought, you know what, I'm going to have a chat because I've been doing Loom recordings of every task that I do.
Yeah.
So this is a really good tip. If there's a repetitive task that you do, just record it on Loom and write down some notes and then you can send it to someone in the Philippines and just get them to copy it and do it exactly how you do it. Now, one thing I really find boring is, not boring, I actually enjoy it, but I know I can't be doing it much longer, is editing videos because they take too damn long, or editing podcasts, or, you know, producing artwork. Again, all the stuff that I really enjoy, but it's not working on your business, like they say. I'm just working on stuff that isn't really productive for me. It is productive, but I shouldn't really be doing it. So I would say, get yourself an Excel chart, write down all the lists that you do, the tasks that you do in your work, in your business, in your life, and see how much of those you can send out to a VA. And VAs are cheap, man. And ultimately, look, let's think about it. Everybody is in property. One of the things they say their goal is, I want to have enough time. I want to have more time so I can travel. I want to have more time so I can do what I want. Let me tell you something. Sending all that shit to a VA is going to create time for you automatically. You know, what would you do right now if you, well, maybe not right now if you had extra time, because you've got shitloads of time now. But when we return to normality, what would you do with an extra 50% of time? You know, you could spend it with a loved one, you could travel, you could do whatever. So yeah, use this time wisely. If you want to sit there and have a binge on Netflix, we were talking about this yesterday, actually, not that there's anything wrong with it. I've got my Netflix binge lined up as well. Nice case of beers in the fridge cooling as well. But, you know, at the same token, I think you need to have the right balance. And I think if you come out of this, I know you're talking about, you've seen all these quotes by people saying, if you come out of this, you're a waste man. I agree to it to a certain extent, yeah. If this goes on for 8 weeks and you come out of this 8 weeks later and all you've done is fucking cane Netflix and you've done nothing else, you've not built your brand, you've not done research into an area, then you are a flipping waste man. Straight up, you're a waste man. And if you sit in your pajamas till 11 o'clock in the morning, like I see you are, Ruby, you're a waste man too. That's my talk on that. That's my take on that.
You know, I'm not going to lie. I do agree in the sense that as an entrepreneur, I think naturally we're inclined to do this anyway. So take the break 100%. Here's the thing. I think if you've been an entrepreneur for like 10 years, you've always worked hard, you haven't taken many holidays, then just enjoy this. It's totally up to you. But I think in like, at least if I look at myself, I'm like, no, Tej, you know, this is a time where you can do shit. So I totally agree with your sentiment, but it depends on the person, right? Like it depends on what they've done in the past 10 years. It depends on like, you know what I mean? Like if you'd never taken a holiday in like 5 years because you've been working on some sort of business and growing, you know, staff, I would 100% be like, yo, just do your thing. Do you know what I mean? But I understand your sentiment and I agree with it. Like that there is always like an opportunity to do that, right? Shaz also says, how about all this money people could be potentially saving? No nights out, no eating out, cinema, maybe clear out your essential costs versus what your non-essential costs are. That's really good. That would help these millennials buy their houses that they want. Yeah, I like that. Very good. Everyone else has been doing that. I think everything you said is correct. And I think to add to the tasks that you could be doing, I actually made a presentation. You know what? Should I present? Should I share my screen? Should I do a presentation, James?
Yeah, if you want.
Nah, I already did it at previous night switch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say that there's a few things you can do. I think social things you can do is like connect with people. So Zoom is super powerful now and used very heavily. Use this time to just say, hey, you know, want a 15-minute Zoom session? Want to just get to know each other better? Like we've been talking on Instagram, we've been talking on Facebook, we've never met. Let's just sort of e-meet and just take it from there. Because when it comes out of this period and we can physically move around, imagine if you come out of this period knowing everyone and everyone knows you, and you've just spent this time at home actually being with everyone else at home. And then, you know, when you come out, everyone you've just kind of built a brand and built I guess a reputation without leaving your house, literally sitting wherever you like, in whatever you like, and building relationships. So I think it's a big time to do that. Like just with anyone, like just put on your Instagram story, just say whatever, right? I think another thing you can be doing is like learn a language if you want. You know, learning languages is good for your brain and your neuroplasticity, and it does keep you fresh. And actually, as entrepreneurs, when we do these like tasks every day, all day, it's good to have something totally different and work a different part of your brain. And it helps communication in any language. Open University has 92 free courses. So go do that. Here's a little tip if you're learning a language. Rosetta Stone, which is amazing, by the way, has 3 months free if you're a kid. So find the entrance for like schools, and it says put in your mummy's name, put in your daddy's name, whatever. Put it in, and you get 3 months free. Yes, there's a top tip. I'm doing what Shaz said. I'm saving non-essential costs. I think also you can learn to make bread, because homemade bread is a million times better, and it takes like 15 minutes to make, if that, and the rest of it's just rising time, and it's super cheap, and you can make different variations. Make pasta, semolina and water, or egg yolks and 00 flour. As easy as that, right? There's so many things you can do. Imagine coming out of this lockdown being more cultured. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? New business ideas. What about brainstorming ideas that when we come out of lockdown, you can launch them, or even that you could do now to help the NHS or to help someone or something. Were you going to say something, James? James?
I was going to say, I hear this time and time again. Yeah, people say, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time to do this. If only I had enough time to do this, I would be a property developer. If only I had enough time to do it, I'll be a multi-millionaire. I'll be a social media king. I'll be this. Guys, you got shitloads of time at the moment. Don't even be trying to say you ain't got enough time. You know, you got loads of time now. Now's the time to do something with it and do something productive, because that's it. What do we have at the moment? We got time, we got resources, we got a shit hot internet connection, and we got people there who we can reach out to. So don't be using that old excuse, oh, if only I had enough time. You got shitloads of time, man. Get off your ass and get something done.
I agree. And Aaron D makes good comments in here and says sometimes he just sits there listening to music and eating. That's some serious self-love. Sometimes you have to make time to, look after your mental health as well, which is important. And for some people, doing stuff may look after their mental health, because I know, like, for me, if I wake up and I haven't got a to-do list or schedule, yeah, it's nice to have a break and play Xbox, but my weekdays, for me to keep my sanity, I need to sort of be doing something. It doesn't have to be work, but it just has to be something that feels like work, something that stimulates me, right? So I think sometimes if people are going to take this as a holiday, I think still keep some elements of stimulus, whether it's a language, whether it's cooking, whether it's something, because that will keep you more sane than taking a total break. Like, because like when people retire at 30 because like they won the lottery or they sold a business, and then they're like 6 months later they're like, oh, let's start a new business. Look at all these VC companies in America, these rich Silicon Valley billionaires. They never stop making companies because they're just like, ain't about the money, I'm bored, like let's do something. So kind of learn, I guess, like from things like that. I think another thing you can do, which leads us nicely into our next topic, is create and edit content and build a brand or build brands, because many people in here. James, what can people be doing now to let's start, should we take people through a journey of how they can build a brand from zero in 10 minutes? Should we do that?
Mm-hmm.
So, right, day one, day one, you have no brand, yeah? But you have, let's say you have no property. Let's make it even harder. You have no properties and you have all your accounts set up and your name chosen. Let's ignore that stuff, done. Where do we start, James?
I think first of all, you need to decide, are you going to come across as a company? Are you going to have a company name, or are you going to have a personal brand? Now, by that, I'll use Tej as an example. You could come across as 𝘇cije chị_𝗺, or you could come across as Tej Talks. You need to decide, how are you going to portray yourself to your audience that you're setting up? Have that name and stick to that name and use that name consistently throughout. So don't have, say, don't have Dave's property on your Twitter, then have David's property on something else, and then have Big Dave the property king on something else. Keep it completely consistent throughout. If you're using a once you've got a name, design yourself a logo or get someone to design your logo, but make sure your logo has strict brand guidance. So if you're going to use it on, say, Twitter, if you're going to use it, say, on a social post, make sure the margins or the line spacings where the logo is going to sit is correct. Write this guidelines now, because what's going to happen is in the future, when you need to hand this shit to someone else, you're going to get really, really annoyed if your logos are not being used in the right way, if they're being stretched out, if they're being used in the wrong color. Have a brand guidance pack. By that I mean, show how you want your logos to be used, what sizes they need to be going to, how they're scaled, what colors they're used in. Really take the time to put a brand pack together. You can download this shit offline. It will tell you how to put a brand pack together, you know, brand guidance for a logo. I think once you got your logo sorted, make sure you got your logo in various different formats, because you need your logo in different formats. If you're going to print something, you need your logo as a vector, an AI, or a high-res PDF, so it can be stretched, it can be used, and it can be printed properly. If it's being used on the web, it might need to be a PNG file. So take the time to save all of these formats now, so that when you're creating content, you ain't constantly going back and saying, oh man, I need a logo with a white background, I need a logo with no background, I need this, I need that. I think once you got your name and your logo sorted, then you probably want to look at the next important thing, which I'm sure Ted will agree, is color. You know, look at a set of colors that work for you. I would say don't mix more than 2 colors or 2 to 3 colors. Don't go crazy and have every single rainbow color. Again, very, very easy to do. You just need to go online and you can search what color, type in what colors work with what colors. You know, you'll see swatches. They'll show you a blue might go with a nice brown, or a blue might go with a nice teal color. You'll get the idea. You can pick the colors from there that you need. Once you've got the colors sorted, then I suppose it's about going through all your social platforms and making sure everything is consistent. So if you've got a header on Twitter, make sure you're following the sizes. You know, if it's telling you it's 1200 by 700, create it at 1200. Don't create it at 1500 or 1900. And when it's all squashed up and your face looks like a flipping potato, you're wondering what the hell's going on here, man. It's pretty damn simple. Now, guys, it probably comes a lot easier to me because I was a graphic design lecturer. I worked in design for a long time. So it's probably second nature, but all of the stuff is out there. And I think your biggest, most powerful tool when you don't understand something is go into play YouTube and just type it in. People have spent hours and hours creating really, really, really good, solid content to help you guys out. I think once all your platforms are set up and they're all looking really consistent, that's a major milestone achieved, because when you do start posting content and people start coming over to your platforms and they think, oh, you know what, this has got some kind of consistency to it. Oh, the colors are all the same. The logos are all nice. That's where you've built yourself a brand. People are now seeing that you have a solid brand, so that when you start posting content, you've got some real reinforcement behind you on your social platforms. I think once you got that sorted, I guess it's then what kind of content you're going to post. And, you know, don't just willy-nilly post a picture of your dog or, you know, a picture of your cat. It's got to have some flipping relevance, you know. Okay, if your dog's on a building site and he's got a hard hat on and he's holding a drill, that's pretty cool, man. You know, I'd want to see that. Or like sometimes one of my youngest son, there's a picture on one of my posts where he came over to our HMO and he's walking around with some screws or something. It looks pretty cool, you know. He's got a monster outfit on and he's messing around. It's got some relevance because he's there, he's having a look. But make sure your content's relevant. Cute little dogs, yeah, all they're going to do is get likes, but they're not really relevant to your brand. So make sure your content that you're posting is great. The next thing I would say is, once you're ready to start posting content, you need a content plan. You can't just start posting content willy-nilly. You need to know what you're doing. Otherwise, you could spend forever listing content. You know, producing content, or producing good content, let me say, takes time, you know. You need to really think about what you're posting. So have a content plan, you know, Monday to Friday, have a content plan, work out what days you're going to post what, work out the times you're going to post. I subscribe to something called Hootsuite, which costs me, I think, about 300 quid for the year, but it lets me schedule posts. It makes posting a lot nicer and a lot easier to do. I know Ted uses Later. I used it a little while ago. I quite like that as well. When you get to the point where you want to be putting a lot of content out there, I think you need one of these tools to start scheduling stuff up for you, because you need to bulk edit stuff. Like for me, when I'm doing videos now, I have to sit there and bulk edit all the videos together, because if I don't, it's going to take a long bloody time to just hit one video at a time. And the other thing you got to remember, when you are producing a video, videos have to be produced at different sizes for different social platforms. So, you know, there is a hell of a lot that goes into doing content. I get people message me all the time. They say, "Oh, James, how you do this, man? Your content looks good there." I said, "Listen, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears here to get this stuff ready. It's not. We don't just run it through a bit of software and it's done, man. There's a lot of time that goes into shit." I think I rabbited on a bit there, Ted. I don't know if you want to come in and add something.
No, I think you make very valid points. Like the points about logos and stuff, I actually always I forget to mention that because it just becomes so normal, right? But the amount of logos, maybe not so much like in property, but just in general that you see that are blurry or don't have the right dimensions or are stretched or have like a white infill when they could be a clear background, or there's a lot of like basics that no matter how good your content is and how sort of well known you are, you're always going to be judged for a shitty blurry logo imprinted on your picture, because people are going to say, hold on, how is everything else so high quality but this isn't? But also I think in human nature, and I guess I'm being really harsh or strict here, as humans we are obviously judging all the time, and if something as simple as your logo is blurry or not the right dimensions, I don't know, I do this, I always think, why hasn't the detail been paid to this little attention? And if you're looking for investors, yes, they're investing in you, but your aim should be to show them that you are as diligent and as detail oriented as someone giving you a lot of money needs you to be. If your logo, and this might sound silly because a solicitor could be incredible at contracts but have a crappy logo, but if your logo is blurry, there's a judgment. If your pictures are low quality, there's a judgment, and it imparts on you as a person. Like your clothes, like the way you speak, everything is always a judgment. So I'm not saying change who you are to meet people's judgment. I'm just saying show people an attention to detail and a level of diligence and why they should invest with you and why they should speak to you, right? Like, because it's so easy to do. And then if you're not doing the easiest things right, an investor's potentially they're thinking, they may not, but they're thinking, I can't do the easiest thing, right? How are you going to take 100K of my money and make sure I get it back? Because that shit ain't easy. So I think that's an important point. Shaz says he totally judges people on their graphics, attention to detail. Thank you for your honesty. Ruby says, we notice the small mistakes more over the good things. Yet I think we can be quite negatively biased. Creases on your bed in like an essay and pictures, that kind of stuff. Yeah, that does annoy me. I've definitely got some on mine. So I think what you said about content plan, when you start out, 1,000,000%. Like I think the beauty of later, maybe Hootsuite has it, is it's got a calendar sort of format, so you can very visually see how is my feed going to look, where's everything going, and it also has a feature that actually puts your future posts into a pretend feed, so you can see how it looks if you're really, really on it.
Just to add to that, 𝘇cije, it's also got, I know you're one who doesn't like to pay for expensive software, so I might as well tell you about it. It has a massive screen where you can see all your feed channels, yeah? So you can see what's going on. So you can, they say social. Look at the word social media. You need to socially interact with someone. If someone said something, repeat back to it. And if you've got a massive screen that shows all the social interaction, I can see it within minutes when something's pinged in and someone said, hey, that was really good. Or, hey, this is really cool. You can reply back to them and you're socially interacting with them. Sorry, that's Hootsuite, Aaron. It's a great bit of software, man. And you get a free 30-day trial. Try it out. Again, really, really good videos online for it, just to help you get started. But if you're starting out, maybe later might be a little bit easier for you to understand, because I feel Hootsuite's it's a little bit more. You need to kind of spend some time setting it up. But once it's set up, it's bloody superb, man. It really, really is good.
It's such a good tool, and it allows you, elite here. Andrew said that, bulking and scheduling things at once makes life so much easier, and it does, because you're in the zone, you're kind of creative, you're writing, you're putting it out. It's just so much easier than, every day, here's my content, which you do with your stories anyway, like on IG and on Facebook. So I think having a content, Sandy says another one called Buffer. I use Buffer for LinkedIn, but I think it's really clunky and it's just not well designed. They were one of the first ones in the game, and now they're just like the last. I think it's just not very well designed, but it's free for 10 posts on LinkedIn. So I just load it up to 10. When it drops to 5, I reload it. Simple as that. So
proper tight ass, ain't you? Proper.
I want investors to pay back, boy.
I've got a spare user on Hootsuite. I'll just let you use it.
Oh, well, yeah, go on then. That'll be sweet. That would actually be really useful. So I think having a content plan is useful. Over time, though, maybe James, you may still use one. Depends on your mental structure, how you like it. I don't do very well with like content plan structures. I do well with just knowing I need to post X, Y, Z, sort of this sort of day, this sort of time, and then I do it. So I think over time, it just becomes so natural to you, and then content creation becomes so natural. You just do it.
Ted, just to add to that, mate, I think as soon as you're married and you got 2 kids, you're going to need a planner, man. Things change.
Yeah.
Right now,
Yeah.
you're, you know, the focus is there, but chuck a couple of people into the mix, man, and you really need a planner. And I'm happy to share that planner with people. The planner that I use, just reach out to me, man, and I'll fire it across, because it is good and it helps me quite a bit.
Yeah. So I think, what about when it comes to content? You know, one of the questions I get asked so much, yeah, and I have the same answer for every time. And I think it's the easiest thing of social media, but it isn't for most people when you start, is content. So James, give me some tangible content ideas that people can leave this podcast with and start creating content. Give me some ideas.
I think with the whole thing of content, I think it was actually you who said to me, Lames, look, you've worked on some really good projects. You got some really good archives. Pull them out and start posting them. You know, start putting some content there. If you're new and you don't have any content, maybe start with yourself. You know, maybe start telling people what you do. Maybe just, you know, tell people all about you. And one of the questions I ask on a podcast is, hey, how you doing? Tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell the world about yourself. Tell them what you did. I think some of the things you did really well, 𝘇cije, in the early days, one of your early podcasts, you're doing a podcast 9 months in and you got I remember when you had no deals, but you're still talking to people about the process, about the emotions, how things are going, you know, and how you're feeling emotionally that you haven't got a deal and the journey you've gone through. I think there's a lot of things you can do. I'd say if you've got no content, if you've got no deals, start with talking about yourself. Tell the world who you are, what you do, what makes you more than just your name. What have you done? You know, only recently when I was talking to someone on I think it was D Ludlow on the podcast, and he was like, oh shit, James, I had no idea that you've got a design degree, or you've done a master's, or you're a qualified teacher, or you've been a designer, you've been a lecturer. It's like, oh shit, I've never really told anybody that, you know. There's a hell of a lot of stuff people have done that other people don't know. So I would say, first of all, share your story. Secondly, if you are in property, make your content property related. Go away and have a look at some of the hashtags that are available and the content people are posting, and then maybe make your content relevant to that hashtag, so you get maximum amount of exposure in that kind of area. But that's how I would start if I've got no content. For me, because I've done a few projects now, I've got a lot of stuff that I can feature, a lot of things that I can talk about. But if you haven't, start with yourself.
100%. I mean, I'm looking at some of the names on this chat, and some people I know quite well, some people I don't know very well at all, some people I know little bits about, but I know certain people on here, like things they've done they've never spoken about, or some of them have like 10 years experience, or they've done deals that we don't know about, or they have a cool story or energy that they aren't sharing. So just by looking at a few names on here random, I know that there is like easily weeks worth of content that these people can create. And that's just me going off what I know of a few people in a chat at 10 a.m. on a Thursday. When, you know, if you look at the wider world and the other people that are in property and people who've done stuff, there's so much you can create from your own story. Just remember, there's always someone who's 1, 2, 5, 20 steps behind you, who, as mundane as it might be, will learn so much from the stuff, you know, whether, you know, if you should use a flexi pipe or this pipe or blah, blah, or copper or plastic, whatever. There's certain things that would really help people. So get them out there. James, I think, so we're coming up to, is it an hour?
Yeah, almost, mate. Almost an hour.
So I think we should wrap it up here. If people have any questions, put them in the chat now and we'll answer them sort of before we leave. But for everyone listening on the podcast, if you have any suggestions of topics you want us to cover, deals you want us to look at, just anything, just DM one of us. Probably on Instagram is probably the easiest way, I reckon, for both of us. And then we'll try and speak about the topic. Really, the topics change every week, so we're more than happy to cover anything. And thank you very much for tuning into the Property Duo podcast.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, like 𝘇cije said, if anybody wants to reach out, happy to help if we can. I'd rather you guys not make some of the mistakes I've made in the past and learn from them. It's always kind of a bonus for me when someone reaches out and say, hey, James, that little bit of advice saved me a shitload of money. I'm so glad I almost made a mistake. I almost signed up for that course that was going to cost me like 50 grand and my credit card was going to get raped and all sorts. But Yeah, happy to help in any way I can, man. Really like connecting with people, really like talking. So cool. We shall end it there.